Hey there, Mike.
Hey,
How you feeling today?
I'm feeling good. Rested up.
I'm pretty tired, but still not tired enough not to do this. So we are here to share with you guys some of them yucks.
Of
As you
course.
can probably tell by our clever background, we're here to discuss the funnies today. You feeling funny, Mike?
I'm always feeling funny.
Cool. I thought it was pretty funny the last episode we did, though. That was pretty funny. So, since we're gonna talk about some funny movies, we had to bring in the funniest guy we know, right?
Wow.
I guess the other 10 were unavailable, huh? The other funniest guys.
12, but sure. Okay. It's funny, and yeah, we're on prime time again. That's always good stuff. So we decided actually to narrow the recommendations because it's not even going to be a list because we don't always rank shit. This is not a ranking. It's cool. So we decided to call this one recommendation. But for recommendation, we're going to do comedies of the 2010s now. So it's not so broad as like we can go insane with it. I don't know this guy's choices. So I'm pretty much going to be Googling posters during the episode. But other than that, I actually would like to hear what these people find funny. So let's start with our guest today, Mr. Paul Oyama. Give me one of them yucks.
One of the yuckiest yucks of the 2010s for me was, I think, one that went a little under the radar. It was a big comedy year, but I think this one got sort of overshadowed by some of the bigger budget ones. And that's Death of Stalin.
Damn it, that was my pick too.
So, the Death of Stalin, as you can probably tell, tells the story about Joseph Stalin's death and sort of the people that take over or try to take over his empire. It's got a great kind of cast: Michael Palin, Jason Isaacs, Steve Buscemi. They're all great character actors who are in this really crazy farcical romp that is just so defined by moments of awkwardness and people. It's a comedy of manners in a lot of ways, just because none of these people behave like you should probably behave in the situation that they're in. And there are a lot of them are playing pretty horrific people, but they play it with such humor and a lightness that I think it really takes the seriousness out of it. So yeah, this is an amazingly hilarious movie. I think that not enough people have seen. It's real good.
I kind of forgot you recommended this to me. But I also had it, as you can see there, is number one, Death of Stalin.
You had it as number one. Holy shit.
Yeah, it was the first one I was going to mention. I actually found this movie to be incredibly funny for what it is. It's like everybody's trying to get... first, they're trying to hide the fact that Stalin is dead. And at the same time, they all have different claims to power. And the movie actually has a turn in the end, where it goes from being from a movie that is like funny all the way through to actually kind of a little dark because everything keeps aiming into one direction. This guy feels like he has everything under control and everybody else are just clowns around him. And I guess the clowns run the show. It's a hilarious movie. I would recommend this to everyone. With or without knowledge of history, I don't think that's required to enjoy this because
I think it adds to it. Certainly, there are some jokes that I think that might fly over your head a little bit, but I think in general it's still really funny, like situational humor.
I think it works either way because they do such a great job of developing the characters themselves from the beginning until the moment that Stalin dies, and it's also very weird that the guy that played Agent 47 is one of the kids here, like the son of Stalin, I think it is. The guy who's always drunk. We lost a match on this question, Mike. I don't know if you remember this.
I do not remember this.
I don't even remember the fucking guy's name, but they said, like, who plays Agent 47? And we were like, of course, Justified guy, right? So we went there, and they're like, no, that was the other movie. Sucks. So,
that's right.
Mike, give me a pick.
Okay, I have Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Oh, yeah.
Comedy. No, I'm just kidding.
It's horror comedy. Excuse me. Okay. which you might be seeing more of these on here. But Tucker and Dale, I love the hell out of this movie. It's just so amazing that you can have two guys who just want a vacation home. All they want to do is build the vacation home. They have to deal with kids basically murdering themselves because they think Tucker and Dale are trying to kill them. It's so ridiculous, so over the top, but they play it so fucking well. Especially when she is on a boat and she falls and hits her head. Like, you could have played that so over the top, but they play it so subtle. He brings her inside, and all he wants to do is play board games with her, while her friends are trying to figure out how they're going to get in, get her back, and to kill these two guys. It's just over the top madness, blood everywhere, and Alan Tudyk, I always love, and this was a perfect movie for him to star in. He is so funny in this. This and Dodgeball are my favorite performances of his. He's
the
good.
pirate guy.
The pirate guy.
I've seen this movie. I also thought it was pretty funny. The concept itself is like they're trying to make fun of the movies about the crazy hillbillies that kill kids and sometimes eat them. These are just two guys who are just chilling in and want to take it the easiest way possible. And these freaking kids, like, just are convinced that they're gonna kill them in such ways that it's just. I mean, they flip the script on a common trope and make it really funny. I think Tyler Labine is actually very underrated. He is always very funny in everything he makes. I loved him in one show that I don't remember the name right. I think it was called Reaper, where his friend was like the son of the devil or something. It was not a very watched show, but it was a really fun show. So I'm pretty sure it was called Reaper, in case you guys find that around. Paul, have you seen this movie?
Yeah, was it the pancakes or no? I'm kidding. Yeah, I hilarious movie. This was in college. One of my friends actually just put it on one night and gave us no context, and I think that was the best way to experience it. Sort of not expecting the kind of movie that it ended up being. But yeah, it's just hilarious. The sort of obviously the hilarity of the the miscommunication of all of this stuff. How they're trying to tell them, oh, like when they're like, oh, we have your friend, and that's interpreted as them like bragging about it. And like you have the classic like douchey bro who's like trying to lead the people. Yeah, it's a great, hilarious movie.
For my first pick, now that he stole my original first pick, I'm gonna go with biopic actually. I love you, Philip Morris. I don't know if you guys have seen this movie. It's probably not what people expected from Jim Carrey and Ewan McGregor. But I find this movie hilarious. It's the story of Steven, I forgot his last name, but it's played by Jim Carrey. A guy who just having a normal life. He knows he's adopted, and he decides to become a cop and get married and have kids, and he's doing the American life the most regular way possible. And then he has like a terrible accident, and he realizes that he needs to be free, and he needs to start living his true life. And apparently his true life is being an over-the-top gay person who likes to make fraud and steal money from everybody just so he can afford a lavish gay lifestyle. And then he goes to jail, and he meets this kind of innocent and kind of simpleton guy played by Ewan McGregor with a really funny southern accent. And they decide that they love each other more than anything in the world. So he just doubles down on the fact that he needs to steal money from people to keep paying for his love for Philip Morris. It's a very weird film. You have to kind of be in a right mood for it, but I think if you go with it in an open mind, and you're just gonna get a ton of laughs in return. I really, really like this movie.
I haven't seen this in full. I've seen, I think, like bits and pieces of it, but I've never sat down and really watched it from beginning to end. But I from what I got, it was not totally my brand of comedy. But maybe it's worth revisiting, or I guess visiting in full for the first time.
Have you seen it, Mike?
Actually, in the same way as Paul, I've seen bits and pieces of it. I've never actually sat down to watch it. So I remember the trailer, and I don't know what the hell I was watching with the trailer, but I will definitely give it a watch.
It's not easy, but it's worth it. So, what else you got, Paul?
So for my next one, I will go for. Okay. This is a very Nazario pick of me, and it will certainly be funny to some people and not as much to others. And that is Lars von Trier's "The House That Jack Built," starring Matt Dillon, which is this like incredibly absurdist movie about a serial killer. And it's super dark. It's played in like very straight. Like it's not like there are no laugh lines. It's like there's no moments that like the movie is clearly constructing for you to laugh, but it is a dark comedy, and I found it very hilarious. It's a pretty disturbing movie, as many of his movies are. But I found the sort of metatextual references within it about sort of Lars von Trier himself really fascinating, and it's a pretty like weirdly accessible movie by him. But yeah, it's dark, but I found it really funny. I was lucky enough to see the original cut in theaters when it ran for like a week or something like that. But it's a wild movie.
Yeah, this movie is fantastic. I love it. It like the part where he is setting up the gun to line all of them up, and then he has to leave. They'll just sit in there. Like you said, it is not played for laughs at all, but deep in there, very funny moments.
It is hilarious.
Lars von Trier is one of the most original directors working today. Sadly, I do believe in Central America, which means his movies are not always available to me. I just realized literally yesterday, that this movie was either on Stars or HBO or something that is connected to my Hulu account, because my Hulu recommended it. Like, you can watch this movie now. I was like, great. And I was trying to do that, but I did not think this was supposed to be a comedy. So unexpected. All I know about this movie is Matt Dillon is a serial killer. Uma Thurman is in it. It's directed by Lars von Trier, and he got himself banned from Cannes. Also, that Paul went to watch this movie at like 7 in the morning, right? Or something like that.
Yes, I was. This was when I was moving out of my apartment in LA, and I woke up at an absurdly early time in the morning to watch it before my flight. The things we do for movies, I suppose.
I don't know if the one in Hulu is the director's cut or the regular version. Have you guys seen both?
There's it's only like a minute and 40 difference, so it's not a super big change.
Okay,
it's just a couple moments.
Probably something like the extreme violence thing. I'm really excited about watching this one. I kind of fell off with von Trier for a bit. I need to watch his last 3 films actually, but the guy is so good on everything else he has made. I think I have 2 of his movies in my top movies of all time, so I'm gonna watch it. That was Paul. Mike, what's your next movie?
All right, so I have a pick kind of like Paul's, where it is not really played for laughs, but very, very dark comedic. Cheap Thrills. It has
Is the Sia song? The song by Sia? No, I'm kidding.
It has Pat Healy and Ethan Embry as friends that have been estranged for years, and Ethan Embry owes money on his house, otherwise him and his wife are going to lose it. And Ethan Embry comes in, and he sees him, and they start talking, and David Kitchener and his wife are sitting down by a bar, and they go back to David Kitchener's house, and he starts betting them to do these crazy, ridiculous things for a big amount of money. Like, they go, I want you to go in my neighbor's house. I want you to shit in their house. Take a shit on the floor, and I will give you this much money. And it kind of overtops itself every single thing. Like, they keep saying they went, okay, go and punch this guy in the face, and I'll give you this money, or kick the shit out of him. And he basically gets them to turn on each other throughout this movie. It is so ridiculous and so over the top, and it's very dark, but so fucking funny. And the ending is so incredible to this movie. This is one that I actually heard about on a podcast. I heard it was Pat Healy on the podcast. He was talking about it. I went to find out about it, and it was fucking incredible. I love this movie. It's a great fucking movie.
I've never seen this in my life. Have you heard of it?
I honestly hadn't even heard of it. Like, I'm like pretty surprised because it seemed like it's pretty acclaimed too. Like, it's got a good critic score, and yeah, people seem to like it. But I had not heard of it until this very moment.
Yeah, Mike kind of does that all the time. I think the man, like he has like a secret stash of movies that nobody has ever seen, and he just. For my next pick, I'm gonna go a little more regular. I love the Muppets. Everybody knows I love the Muppets, and I think
I have the Muppets are on my shirt right now. Anyway, well, the Muppets as community cast, but anyway,
I actually think that 2011 reboot was probably the best movie they have ever made, the best way to launch their career. But even though that movie was very successful, not that many people showed up for the sequel, which is the one I'm trying to recommend here, Muppets Most Wanted. I think the premise, they didn't sell it correctly. I think they made too much of a point of the fact that there was a Kermit doppelganger who was like an evil mastermind, and they were going to switch. But the movie's not really about that much. It's actually itself a spoof on sequels and how they try to go bigger and broader. And also, at the same time, since the first one followed the original Muppet movie, this one tries to follow the Great Muppet Caper by making it a kind of a caper too. Ricky Gervais is hilarious in this. The doppelganger Constantine with Kermit thing, it's okay. I don't love it. Actually, he goes like when Constantine shows his real self with the scary teeth and everything is kind of scary for little kids. But the movie's hilarious. Everything that has to do with the Gulag and all the guest stars that they have as prisoners, it's honestly, it's pretty freaking brilliant. And I really enjoyed this movie so much that I kind of felt bad that I was one of the people who didn't really gave it its props when it was in theaters originally. The other thing that it's like the central thing about the detectives working together with Sam Eagle and Ty Burrell is so freaking funny. There's a scene where they're just comparing the size of their badges, like, and they keep pulling out bigger and bigger badges, and then they stop doing it and they talk for like another 5 minutes, and in the end, there's some just guy shows up with a big ass package, and he signs for it, and he opens it, and it's like a giant badge inside of it of Sam Eagle. I mean, honestly, really, really underrated movie. Everybody should watch it. Paul, have you seen it?
No, I hadn't seen the 2011 one until like 2 months ago, and I still haven't seen Muppets Most Wanted. So I will, that is something I will cross off one day.
Disney Plus is on it. You can do that. How about you, Mike?
This is a movie that I actually watched, but I was so distracted by other things that I didn't really actually get to pay attention to it. So I need to rewatch it.
Fair. Paul, what else you got?
I can't believe that nobody has said this yet, but it's funny that I'm about to talk about this movie because the star of this movie just had a movie recently come out and become a big thing, and that's pop star Never Stop, Never Stopping. One of my absolute favorite movies of the 2010s as a whole. I love Andy Samberg and the absurdist humor that he just dives headfirst into, with especially with Hot Rod and Popstar. But Popstar is such a great spoof about the music industry, sort of in the mid 2010s, and sort of the cultural moment that music was at that point. I think you see the way that his rap career in the movie sort of takes off. It's ridiculous and crazy, and it's hilarious. It's something that I have watched a ton of times and feel like I can always go back to watch over and over again.
Guess I don't get to mention that one either. Scratching that from the list. Yeah, this was gonna come up later for me, but actually, it's a hilarious film. I really love The Lonely Island. I think their video shorts and their music is excellent humor. And yeah, the new one that they just released, it's actually gone to the top of my 2020 movies. Fair, I've only seen about 10 movies this year, but it's still my favorite one. But this one, you wouldn't think it would work long term, because when you see the trailer, it kind of looks like a bit. Like, yeah, I can see 2 or 3 minutes of this.
Like an SNL sketch or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but fucking works. This movie's hilarious. The way he goes, like the rise, and how he has the band and then becomes a solo artist, and then he just crashes because. I mean, I think this kind of rivals Dewey Cox as my favorite kind of biopic comedy thing. Walk Hard, but it's really good. Mike, have you
And the
seen
music is actually catchy. Like, it's bad, but it's kind of catchy at the same time,
yeah.
which is the funniest part about the music.
Yeah.
When I first watched this movie, I fucking hated it. It did not connect with me at all. But then when I rewatched it, I actually fell more in love with it. Like I don't know what the hell happened there, but the second I watched it, it's like I watched a completely different movie, and I was fucking laughing my ass off. The solo career to him crashing is one of the funniest fucking parts ever that I've seen in these type of movies. The music, yes, is so fucking ridiculous, but now I laugh at it every time I hear it.
And I think that this is like, so we did a Your List text about best performances of the 2010s, and I actually had Andy Samberg's performance in this on there because I think that this type of humor is so hard to fully commit to as a bit and to not make it tired or sort of lean too much into other existing tropes. So I think that like what he does in this movie is incredible and so funny and like so endearing at the same time. But yeah.
True. Mike, what's your next pick?
Okay, so this one is definitely a more popular one, especially recently with the TV show, but I had to put it on. What We Do in the Shadows. I love the hell out of this movie. I loved it the very first time I saw it. It's about a documentary crew that comes in and follows a bunch of vampires in their living situation. It is so fucking funny how they take vampire tropes and they turn them on its head. They have Peter, the vampire, in the basement. He goes, does Peter want to join the meeting? No, he definitely does not want to join the meeting. He never left the fucking basement. And then them going up and I can't think of his name, but when he's at the bar and he's telling people that he's a vampire, and the guy goes, "Yeah, I'm a vampire hunter." He goes, "Yeah, sure you are." And he comes back to try to fucking kill them later on, and Peter ends up dying in the most ridiculous, horrific fashion. I just love that they bring in the cops and they have them hypnotized so they don't see them fighting with each other. So many great moments in this. Taika Waititi is fucking hilarious in this. This is 100% my brand of humor. I love horror comedies, and this one I love vampire movies in general, and this one took a new direction with it, and I've fallen in love with the TV series as well. The TV series is fucking amazing.
I sadly have not seen this movie, even though most people have told me repeatedly that I need to watch more Taika Waititi movies. I have only seen Thor Ragnarok and Jojo Rabbit. Have you seen this, Paul?
Yeah, this is definitely my favorite, I think, of the Taika movies. I'm not as much of an insane sort of Taika enthusiast as a lot of people, but I do think this is a very, very funny movie. I was a bit late to it, so like some of the really funny lines I think had sort of been ruined for me, like that I think would have been really great to experience without knowing going in. But it is a really, really funny movie. I kind of love that wry, dry, it's very silly, kind of goofy humor. It's like it feels a little immature, but at the same time, it's like well positioned, well calculated. So I think it's really, really funny. I still haven't seen the show yet, though.
Oh, the show's fucking incredible.
I guess I'm the kids stuff guy, so my next pick is also gonna be a little kid centric. I would recommend Teen Titans Go to the Movies.
Oh,
this movie has no right to be as funny as it is. I was not even a fan of the Teen Titans Go TV show before the movie came out. My kid was, so he just basically said, "Dad, I need to watch this movie," and I was like, "Sure, I'll take you," not knowing much about it. It's ridiculously deep in its references to other movies and other superhero tropes it spoofs. This movie does things that if you're not paying attention, you may not even notice, like the fact that they finally gave Nicolas Cage to play Superman. I mean, the whole arc of the movie is that they're goofsters. Everything they do is jokes. They never really save anybody. They never really fight anyone because their show is just jokes. There's even a part when they are supposed to be fighting this giant balloon man who's stealing the bank, and the guy's like, I don't know who you are. Are you Justice League? He's like, no, we're not. And they're like, sorry, guess I didn't remember the Guardians of the Galaxy. He's like, dude, no, we're not that. He's like, well, then who the hell are you? And they start singing their theme song, like, we're the Teen Titans, no, the Teen Titans. And the guy's like, are these guys really singing? And he just leaves. He keeps stealing shit while they're singing the theme song because that's more important to them. And actually, at one point, I think it's Superman that points out, like, you guys really don't do anything. And he's like, of course we do. Cyborg is like, we remembered last week we went to that diner and we ate all that food. They're like, what are you talking about? You didn't save anything. Like, yeah, we saved room for dessert. It's so stupid, and it's so upfront about its humor that it's shockingly how funny it ends up being. They just realize that everybody's getting movies made about them. All the heroes are except them, and this is why, because nobody takes them seriously. So they decide that they need to find a nemesis so they can be taken seriously. And dude, there's this whole sequence where they decide also, like, the only reason that they're not getting movies is because every other superhero is, so they have to.
Is this when this is so I haven't seen it, but I've seen clips for trivia purposes. And the whole thing is they have to undo the origin stories of a bunch of superheroes. So it's like they prevent the famous origin stories of all the superheroes. They prevent a lot of that stuff from happening. And the one with Aquaman, I saw the clip of that. That was hilarious. The way
that's ridiculous. I'm not even gonna spoil those because those are great. I'm just saying that for people who love comic book movies, this is totally worth it. So you haven't seen it, Paul. Have you seen it, Mike?
I have not seen this, actually.
Yeah, so I've seen, for trivia purposes, I've watched a bunch of clips. So I've like read the synopsis, so I essentially know what happens, but I haven't actually like watched the movie itself.
I think it's about to leave HBO, or it's just left HBO. But if it's still the HBO, give it an hour and a half of your time. It's actually surprisingly funny. So, Paul, what do you got next?
Let's see. There's a couple of different ones I could go with. I'm gonna go with one that I doubt that either of you will have seen. It is a pretty under the radar comedy / drama. It's called Support the Girls, and this is from 2018, starring Regina Hall and Haley Lee Richardson as well. It's this basically it's a Hooters-esque restaurant that's run by Regina Hall's character. She's the manager of it, and she has this insane, crazy day. And there's all these different antics that happen where someone tries to steal from them, and they try to hold this car wash, but they're not allowed to hold the car wash. And the movie itself is not pure comedy, sort of the way you might expect, but it's like really heartfelt. And the moments that are funny really hit, I think, because they build up a lot of tension with the way that the movie is so serious for a lot of the times, that when you get that release of a joke here, there's a certain tattoo that a character has that is like an amazing bit that is like really, really funny. It's a great sight gag, and it's just full of heart. So I think that when the humor happens, you care much more about the characters, so that makes the humor communicate more powerfully. But yeah, it's a great movie overall, and one that's like the humor, I think, hits at the right moments to make it work as a comedy.
You're right. I haven't seen this. It is as funny as Waiting?
It's definitely aged better than Waiting. I can tell you that.
Mike, have you seen this?
No, but I have added it to my list to watch because it does sound interesting.
That's pretty good.
That's what the show's all about. Recommendation.
Yeah.
Recommendation. Exactly. Mike, give me your next one.
Okay, so I have a Netflix movie with Elijah Wood and Melanie Linsky, I think her last name is, called I Don't Feel at Home in This World Anymore. It is the ultimate Mike style movie. It is so fucking ridiculous. Her house gets broken into, and she wants to find out who fucking stole her shit, including her laptop. And she has a next door neighbor played by Elijah Wood. That how she meets him, his dog keeps shitting in her lawn. She gets fucking fed up with it. And Elijah Wood in this plays the most ridiculous, crazy motherfucker ever. They go to this house, they find a laptop, and he shows up with a ball and chain thing that he busts this dude in the nose with, and then he goes inside. He fucking takes a shooting star, chucks it at a wall, takes a fucking firecracker, lights it on fire, and throws it, and then looks at everyone. And everyone's staring at him without even saying a fucking word. And everyone's staring at him going, what the fuck is happening here? It gets beyond bonkers later on in the story as she figures out who the hell stole her shit, and Elijah Wood is on for the fucking ride in this. They have fucking shotguns that explode on impact. They have people's hands being blown off. They have accidental shootings in the face. It is so fucking bonkers, so ridiculous. If you love ridiculous batshit comedies, this is a fucking look. He has fucking nunchucks in his hand, for Christ's sake. They never explain why he has all this shit. He just does. Like, he is one of my favorite fucking supporting characters in this type of movie. It is so incredible. Watch it immediately if you have not seen this.
I have not seen this.
Yeah, I know this is so the director of this is Macon Blair, who's like an actor who's in like Green Room and a bunch of other sort of independent movies.
Yeah.
So it's I think this is the first, maybe only film he's directed. I know like this is always one that I've noticed on Netflix and has sort of been interesting to me, but I guess like not quite interesting enough to commit to watching it. It's one that I like definitely want to see at some point. It's just hard, so many other recommendation exclamation point to get through.
I honestly didn't even know this existed till like 2 minutes ago, but I do love everybody who's involved in it, so I'm pretty much sure gonna check this out. My next pick is actually a movie written by Diablo Cody and directed by Jason Reitman. Young adult. I don't know why this movie didn't hit bigger than it did. This movie is brilliant. If you ever want to see the range Charlize Theron has as an actress, watching her play an Arrested Development character who writes young adult movies just because it's the thing that is in vogue, and she just wants to do the least possible effort to moving in life, and then having to deal with coming back to her hometown, and everybody thinking she's like this big star because she made it, because she went to the city. And she's like this celebrated author when she just doesn't really care about anything or anyone. And how she actually learns what it is to be an adult and actually having to deal with responsibilities about how your life affects people that are around you. It's brilliant. Honestly, I think Diablo Cody hit it big with her first movie. And then for some reason, people started not giving her enough credit. She has made so many interesting movies. I picked this one over Tully slightly because I really like Tully too, and also Charlize Theron and also Jason Reitman, and Jennifer's Body, which is criminally underrated. But yeah, this is one I would actually recommend from the 2010s. So if people who haven't seen it, it's really worth it.
I like it. I think I understand why this didn't make it big, just because I think that the main character is so unlikable that I think it's hard for audiences to identify. And I think like, especially like with like a female protagonist like this, I think it's difficult for people to watch a movie about someone that's not likable and is not necessarily a good person, and to be able to identify with them and to enjoy the movie. And so that's why I think like this movie just wasn't never going to be a big hit. I think it's a good, solid movie. I saw it for the first time like a year and a half ago. I don't think it's like incredible, but I think it's really interesting. I really like the Patton Oswalt character. I think is really interesting in this movie. But it's like a good sort of take on this kind of character. That's kind of like, I wish we got more of this kind of person in movies.
And I forgot about that because it's like she's so shallow that she would never actually consider a person like this. But then she realized that people actually have worth, whatever they look like. It's amazing. Mike, why you hate it?
I do not hate it, actually. I actually went into this completely blind. I'd never seen a trailer. I didn't even know the fucking synopsis. And seeing the stuff between her and, you brought it up, Patton Oswalt, was fucking hilarious. All he's trying to do is be so fucking sweet to her, and she treats him like fucking garbage throughout the entire fucking thing. She does a brilliant performance in this movie. I really enjoyed it.
Okay. Next pick, Paul.
Okay, I am going to go with a Netflix original movie, one of the first ones, I think one that really flew under the radar. And this is starring Paul Rudd. The movie's called The Fundamentals of Caring, which is a road trip comedy with Craig Roberts, who plays a child that has Duchenne muscular dystrophy. So he can't walk. He has to have a caretaker, and Paul Rudd is his new caretaker. And you see, Craig Roberts' character is this really unlikable British snobby kid who is really distasteful towards the people who are caring for him. And I think with Paul Rudd, you see him kind of open up into being this whole different person, but he still maintains that great dry humor. Like, he makes fun of his own illness and disease a lot of times in a really funny way. Especially there's a moment sort of near the end that I won't spoil. But yeah, this is just a great heartwarming road trip comedy. Pretty simple and straightforward. Not a lot of characters, not a ton going on. They're going on a road trip to see the most ridiculous sights and sounds in America based on this bad TV show that he likes to watch. So it's a fun, nice, pleasant romp through the middle of America, kind of.
I guess I'm giving my money to Netflix for nothing because I haven't heard of it. Thanks. I figure, Mike, for your reaction, you actually have seen this?
Yes, I love this movie. It is such a sweet movie, and they are both so fucking hilarious in this movie. And bringing in Selena Gomez, who I never really cared for before this movie, she is fucking amazing in this. She plays a perfect fucking role opposite them in this. It is great.
Cool. Another one to the list. I feel like Bar, add everything to the list.
There's no list, guys.
That's actually true. Mike, next movie.
Okay, so I'm going to go with the Farting Corpse movie. The movie I saw for the first time and fucking fell in love with. Swiss Army Man.
What's the name?
Swiss Army Man.
Oh, Swiss Army Man. Okay.
It deals with such a very dark subject of Paul Dano wanting to commit suicide. And later on, figuring out the reason why, it gets very fucking dark. But throughout the time that he meets Daniel Radcliffe, the Farting Corpse, it makes a turn into such a ridiculous fucking concept that you're either in for the ride or you just go, fuck, this goddamn movie is so stupid. And it has one of the greatest lines in history. If you don't know Jurassic Park, you don't know shit. That is the ultimate fucking line. I just love that he is so obsessed with Jurassic Park in this movie that he recreates scenes with the farting corpse of Daniel Radcliffe. Knowing it's just every single part of this when they get on that island and they are just trying to survive together, and you can't really tell if Daniel Radcliffe is actually alive or if he's a zombie, if he's fucking dead and he's just hallucinating it. And even at the end, the very, very end of this, where they still do not answer the question, it's fucking great. And the reasons why he does what he does is very dark, and it's very hard to want to follow him after it, but I still love this movie. Every time I watch it, so fucking amazing. The soundtrack is incredible. I love this movie.
Have you seen it, Paul?
Yeah, I am not as crazy about this movie. I as much of I'd love to simp for Mary Elizabeth Winstead like the characters do in this movie. It's one that the humor is just too kind of silly and goofy for me. It didn't hit the wavelength that I kind of wanted it to. I think that Paul Dano's giving a good performance, but I think that ultimately what the characters are driving towards and what that ends up being, I think, is really not super satisfying for me. I think in theory, I'm not opposed to a movie like this, but for whatever reason, the humor doesn't really click. And then the characters, especially I don't know, the Daniel Radcliffe character, I didn't really like all that much for whatever reason.
Fair.
I'm so glad we're doing this because I keep getting movies that I have not seen. This one is one that I actually played the first 5 minutes of it once that I was going to watch. For some reason, I had to stop. But in those 5 minutes, it was going in a way that is surprising. So I will watch this eventually when I get a chance to, and probably I don't know. I have a feeling I probably would like it more than Paul said, but never. It's subjective. That's what
It's not bad. It's not bad. I just don't love it. I just like it's like a decent it's a decent movie for me. It's not nothing more, nothing less.
I'm gonna go with one that is also, I guess, a little that could be considered dark. I don't think the movie's dark, but maybe the subject matter is a little dark, and it's Richard Linklater's Bernie.
Oh, you're so close to having the right movie. Oh, goddamn.
Goddamn! I really like Bernie. I think Jack Black shows a lot of range in this movie, more than he usually does, because he usually sticks to the Jack Black shit. And in this one, he's basically a nice guy. A nice guy that everybody loves and always tries to do everything for everybody else and always tries to be the best possible person. But it shows that even some of the best person can be broken if a person is bad enough. Honestly, Shirley MacLaine in this movie is a bad woman. And I don't think anybody else in that position would have lasted as much as he did. Probably wouldn't have gone the way he did, which is technically I didn't think he really meant to, I don't know. I'm just going to say it because I think it's the premise. He didn't really mean to kill her, but he kind of did. Matthew McConaughey is also pretty interesting in the role he plays in this movie. But yeah, I think this is the second time on a show that I have recommended this movie as a Linklater movie, and the second time that Paul gives me shit for it. But ignore the man, because this movie is actually funnier than you would expect, and it shows a lot of range for Jack Black for it. So I really like it.
I love this movie. I love the fact that he grabs the actual townspeople to play the townspeople in the movie and to know how much they fucking despise her is so fucking hilarious. Everyone is so against her. He just loves Jack Black's character. God damn. And Matthew McConaughey, he plays it so well in this as the one person in this town who wants to take him down.
Yeah, this has always been one of my least favorite Linklater movies. I just the Jack Black character, I have never been able to sort of get into. I don't like him. I think that's a big part. I do really like the scene where he's driving around singing. I forget what the song is, but when he's singing that song when he's driving around, I think that's a really good scene. But I think other than that, I think the movie just kind of falls flat. I think Shirley MacLaine is good in it, but yeah, it's a frustrating movie. I'd like to like a movie like this, but it's just not. That's not it, Chief.
You're wrong, but give me an answer.
Okay, I am going to go with tempting. Okay, I'm gonna go with another somewhat recent movie from 2017. We're back in the dark place, guys. The movie is called Ingrid Goes West.
Yes.
So this is a movie about a girl named Ingrid, played by Aubrey Plaza, who moves out west to follow a famous socialite, played by Elizabeth Olsen, and sort of become her friend. But the funniest part of this movie is O'Shea Jackson Jr. giving one of the funniest performances of the last 20 years or so. Nazario, there's a scene I think you would enjoy very much that I will not spoil, but it involves a character that you're very fond of in an intimate situation. You got to watch this movie to know what I'm talking about. But his character is so damn funny as this overly serious screenwriter who thinks that he has superhero movies figured out. I love that approach that his character takes. I don't love the ending of this movie necessarily, but I think the humor throughout really, really works. It plays everything super serious, and I think that's what makes it really funny. Aubrey Plaza perfectly fits in with the sort of deadpan delivery of a lot of the humor here. She's super creepy, and that's kind of the point. Very off-putting, but that's kind of the idea of the entire movie. It's really entertaining. It's a really unique, crazy kind of story. Really, really good movie.
Another one for my list today, guys. Mike, have you seen Ingrid Goes West?
Yes, I did, and Paul did not mention the best part of this movie. The man, the myth, the legend.
Wyatt Russell.
Ryan Russell in this movie. Of course, I had to fucking see it. He's fucking fantastic in the movie. O'Shea Jackson is incredible.
Billy Magnuson as like the douchebag is really, really good too. He's like a huge douche, but he's really
good. Scenes with him and Aubrey together are fucking
so
like, throughout the entire movie, she just gets more and more awkward, and it it's so, and it just gives you the fucking feel just going, it's just.
I'm usually not too into cringe humor, but here I think the way that they use it, it's sort of like it's like a nice like light season.
Yeah, it's
not like it's overdone.
Yeah. But yeah, incredible movie. I love this movie.
What's your next one, Mike?
Okay, I'm gonna go with a movie that a lot of people just it didn't hit with a lot of people who don't really like it, but I love it for all the Easter eggs involved. I'm going with Paul. Yes, Paul, I'm going with you.
Yeah.
No, this movie, I love Sunbreak Nick Frost. I think they're incredible together, and this movie is 100% my type of fucking movie. It's the E.T. style fucking movie. And I just love like the sequences of them traveling around together with him while they're speaking Klingon. He's showing them what the fucking world is, and they are going insane trying to figure out, like, they are, especially Nick Frost, who doesn't like the fact that he gets jealous that Simon Pegg got to talk to him first. So they have a like little off-putting thing, like half the movie, of where he's kind of pissed off at Simon Pegg throughout it, and he kicks fucking Paul the alien in the face for it. And then one of my great fucking funniest lines is when what the fuck? Who the fuck is it? It's the two guys who are constantly going after them, and they're going to the RV, and Paul busts the RV open, and he goes, "Hey, fuck nuts. It's probing time." And they fucking just collapse. He was so freaked out by it. The little Easter eggs throughout it, including Jason Bateman's character, whose name is Lorenzo Zoil. And at the end, when he finally, like, it's like he never noticed that his name was fucking Matt. Like, he gives us
such a random movie to reference to, which is the funniest part.
So fucking ridiculous and so random. Sigourney Weaver in this is incredible in the very small part that she has, especially when Nick Frost tries to fight her and he breaks a fucking cheap ass sword that he just spent like a shitload of money on. It has so many comedic moments in this. Yes, do I like their stuff with Edgar Wright more? Yes, but this is still funny as hell. I love a little Spielberg cameo in this. It's great. And Jane Lynch is funny as hell in the very small part that she has in this. It's a great fucking movie.
I have seen this. I thought it was funny, but I don't know if it's funny enough. It kind of have a similar problem to this movie that I had with Fanboys, which it's funny, but is it really worth it to watch the whole thing? I think you can get the best parts of this movie by watching some clips, and that's what keeps me from saying like I could really consider this a great movie.
Fair.
I like it. It's one of those kind of just like a casual watch for me. It's one of those things where I feel like if I really disliked it, that might be I might be in for some legal trouble there. But yeah, it's funny. Like, I really like this Sigourney Weaver character. I think it's really fun. It's a movie I don't like love, but it's definitely one that, like, if it's on cable, I'll watch, 30 minutes here, 30 minutes there kind of thing.
Cool. My next pick. I am not sure if this can officially be called a comedy, but I laughed enough, so I'll consider it a comedy for these purposes.
Oh boy.
Yorgos Lanthimos, the
last. I had that too.
That counts. That counts.
It counts? Okay.
Definitely.
The premise of this movie is so insane. Like, people have to be paired up. And if you're not paired up and you already got married because you're over the age of, I think it's 25, right?
No, there's no way Colin Farrell's character is 25 in this movie.
No, but I mean, like, if you can be single until you're 25, then you have to be married. But the problem is that his wife is leaving him.
Yeah.
Because she decided to pair up with somebody else. So he gets 1 year to find someone else to get married and become a couple, or he has to be turned into an animal. Why? I don't really know. But it's the movie proof that it gives me. And you get to pick your animal, so I guess that's good. So he picks up a lobster. The way he deals with the place where they're supposed to like see all the other single people that are in the same boat and try to decide if you can meet up with somebody, and then you find out that there's like this rebel group of people who refuse to be turned into an animal and refuse to pair up with anybody, and they live like in the forest, but they are also kind of militant in their own way. It's really pretty crazy, but this movie works. Mostly because of Rachel Weisz and Colin Farrell, but it's actually I didn't hear about this movie until I actually saw The Favorite first, because that's the one movie that I saw from Yorgos first that made me look up his other movies, and he has some great movies. But this one is hilarious. I love it. The Lobster, totally recommend it.
Yeah, I think that the best part of the movie for me is definitely the first half, which is the more comedic part. I think for me, when it makes that transition about halfway through, it doesn't like totally lose me, but I definitely lose a little bit of interest in the movie. And I think like it does sort of go downhill a little bit from there. One of my favorite jokes is the whole thing with John C. Reilly, and they force him to put his hand in a toaster for things that he was doing. There's some really dark stuff in the movie, like what the one woman who's interested in Colin Farrell, the way she responds to his lack of interest, I suppose. At one point, and yeah, there's some just crazy stuff. The ending of this movie is really, really great. Not necessarily funny, but it's thought-provoking and great. But yeah, that first half, like with Ben Whishaw and John C. Reilly and Colin Farrell together, I think is really, really entertaining.
Yeah, those three are so funny together. And then when he pairs up with that woman and they're in the hot tub, and she wants to see if he's connected to her, so she pretends to start choking and fucking dying just to see if he's gonna not save her. It's fucking hilarious. And the stuff with Rachel Weisz, I love. It's fucking incredible. But yes, the first half is definitely more.
I think she's great. Like she might even be like the best performance in the movie, but I think overall the movie itself is much better in the front half.
Yeah, the front half is definitely the more comedic part of it as well, and it fucking works. It is so dark and sometimes very disturbing, but it fucking works.
Fair. Okay, we have done 6 rounds each right now, and we're closing in on an hour. So I will say let's do 2 more each. So we got this got
make these a little quicker too, potentially.
Cool. So next one, yours, Paul.
Okay, I'm going to go with a movie called Thunder Road from 2018. This is a pretty small indie movie. It's directed by and starring and written by a guy named Jim Cummings, who's this really great indie filmmaker. But essentially, it's a young man who has to has to go to a funeral and with a bunch of people that he doesn't necessarily like. He's in the middle of a separation with his wife. And it's like, man, there's this really long extended scene at the funeral that is like so awkward, but so hilarious. And like the movie itself is like towing this line between being dramatic one moment and being really ridiculous and funny the next moment. And it's really going flipping back and forth between those two kind of channels. It's a movie that not a lot of people have seen, but it's really, really terrific. I would highly recommend this to people. It's a lot of the humor is like kind of hard to watch. Like he puts himself in these really difficult scenarios and is not necessarily the best person socially, but I think like that the moments of this movie that are funny like had me absolutely rolling laughing. Like I said, the scene at the funeral is like wild. There's another dance scene in the movie that's like, yeah, it's really funny, underrated, underseen, terrific movie.
You guys are really making me work for these posters. Have not seen this. Have you seen it, Mike?
I have not seen this actually, but it's on my list now.
Cool. What's yours?
Okay, so I already mentioned Daniel Radcliffe. I'm going to mention him one more time. I think out of all the Harry Potter guys, he's had the very random group of movies where he's gone one direction and gone in the complete other direction. I was going to mention What If, but I'm going to go another way. I'm going to go with the movie that just came out that I absolutely fell in love with. Now, it has been known for a very particular reason recently, which I will not go over because I think the movie's incredible and not for this reason. It's Guns Akimbo, the action comedy, where he plays...
Wait a second. Isn't this 2020? Isn't this movie in 2020?
It technically had in 2019, it had its run. Okay. So that, like, it is technically 2020.
What's the name? Guns of what?
Guns
Akimbo.
Akimbo.
AKIMBO. It's like the name for like two guns at once. Like in.
It officially came out this year, but I saw it last year. That's why I'm putting it on here. Is
That's fair. That's fair.
Year. And it didn't get all the shit it got until this year. I don't, like, this movie, he plays an internet troll, and this group that kind of like this. I don't know exactly how you would describe them, but they play this game where they are trying to kill people, and they're trying to kill each other, and he trolls them, so they get pissed off, and they end up knocking him out and fucking putting guns to his hands with nailing guns to his hands, so he is forced to have these guns, and they have characters that are now trying to kill him, and he's trying to kill them in the process. And the way he deals with it, he's such a wimp in this movie. He doesn't want any part of it. He just wanted to talk shit on the internet, and that's all he wanted to do. And now he's forced into a situation where he has to survive. And Samara Weaving plays an incredible fucking role where she's basically the most badass character of this group that everyone's trying to kill her to get the points, and she's just fucking annihilating everybody. And she ends up teaming up with Daniel Radcliffe halfway through the movie to try to end all this shit once and for all. And Daniel Radcliffe's performance is so fucking hilarious. The way he runs around with those guns and all the situation of him trying to like open doors and shit and trying to get around this wall while he's trying to hide these guns from people is hilarious. I think the way he's taken on these different roles recently is incredible. Not all of them are hits, but he strives for very unique roles that are way beyond Harry Potter. And I think this gets it done perfectly.
I have never heard of this. I don't think it has come out officially, so I'll watch it.
It's on VOD.
Yeah, it's on.
And stuff like that. Yeah, this was a movie that was on my radar for a while, but just it does not really interest me, to be honest, and I don't think that I'll end up watching it probably. Not just because of the stuff with the director, although that's certainly part of it, but I think just the concept in the movie itself just doesn't seem like the kind of thing I would like to spend my time watching. Totally. I'm glad you liked it, though.
I love me some batshit crazy movies.
We have all come to learn that on this episode.
Yes. Wait till you see his top 100. Okay. My next one is actually also a Netflix movie that I think is from last year. Yeah, 2019. Dolomite Is My Name.
Yes.
I actually found this movie to be very, very sweet and very funny. I think it's Eddie Murphy's best role in years, like a while, where he plays this guy who is trying to make something out of his life. He
Rudy Ray Moore. Yeah, he's like a pretty famous filmmaker. Yeah.
He tries to become a singer, doesn't really work out. He tries different things, and eventually he realized that he can just do all jokes that were corny, but told by these old black people that actually still find it very like meaningful and sweet. So he creates the character. He doesn't create it. He takes the character of Dolomite and absorbs it and becomes a version of Dolomite that he develops into kind of like his shtick. And this is the guy who's kind of a man's man, even though he's obviously not fit. And that he becomes a karate fighter, even though he obviously doesn't even know how to do that. And he takes all the women because, that's kind of what you do. And I never really actually watched a Dolomite film until after I actually saw this. I only knew the name because of the
crazy. Those movies are crazy.
Yeah. I knew the Dolomite name because of pop culture references, but what this man kind of achieved, it's kind of insane. And they show the process, and Wesley Snipes is actually pretty great in this movie too. It was kind of under the radar. I think the humor could not be for everybody, but for me, actually, it's probably one of the funniest movies I saw last year. So I definitely recommend.
Yeah, this is probably the biggest movie sort of come like sort of award season that I missed last year for whatever reason. Well, the thing is, like, I've seen an early version of this movie where like the editing was a total mess, and I think that sort of discouraged me from watching this version. So I've heard great things from pretty much everyone who's seen it. So like at some point, I do think I should watch it. It's just one of those things where I think it just got lost in the shuffle of other movies that I think were just more interesting. And like, you know, when you see like a bad version of something, I think it kind of puts you off from wanting to see the final version of that thing.
I think you got brown bunny.
Maybe. That is a yikes. That movie is a big yikes.
I'm actually just referencing because Roger Ebert said it was the worst trash he has ever seen, and then when they re-edited and they released it openly and he saw it again, he was like, "Ha, 3 stars."
This is a movie that, it definitely brought me back to loving Eddie Murphy again, which I love Eddie Murphy's older stuff, and over the recent years, he's kind of gone off the rails with some of the movies he's chosen to do. But this movie, he's fucking fantastic in. Everybody in this is incredible. It's really fucking funny. And yeah, if you've seen any of Rudy Ray Moore's stuff, you definitely get a lot more out of it, for sure. But I love it.
So, last round, guys. Paul, what do you have?
So there's a couple of movies that I was considering that are probably better movies than this, but I think that this movie has such an incredible comedic performance that I think it's worth talking about. The movie's called The Art of Self-Defense.
Yeah,
this is from last year, starring Jesse Eisenberg. But the person in this movie that is worth watching it for is an actor by the name of Alessandro Nivola, who plays the martial arts instructor that Jesse Eisenberg goes to. Jesse Eisenberg is this really awkward, mousy dude who gets attacked by people on motorbikes one day and then decides he needs to learn how to defend himself. And so he goes and joins this martial arts institution run by Alessandro Nivola. And that is one of the funniest performances I've seen in a long, long time. And like the types of tones that he is playing is so bizarre. I think like it's like everything that you would expect him to say, he says like something that's a little left of center of that. And he has an insane commitment to the bit that his character is kind of doing. And like that alone, I think is worth watching the movie. I think the movie itself is like a bit of a mess at times. And I think that like I don't love the Eisenberg performance all the way through. But I think that Alessandro Nivola, and to like a lesser extent, Imogen Pooch is also very good in the movie, but Nivola is really the reason to watch it. And he's hilarious, absolutely hilarious in that movie.
I have not seen this.
It's really interesting.
This movie is so fucking insane with the way it goes that
it's like total commitment to the like.
Yeah,
I think if you watch it 5 minutes in, if you're like, this is not for me, you are not gonna like the movie.
No,
it's like
no, not
the
at
whole
all.
movie is that one tone the whole time, basically.
It's insane, and I fucking love it. Like you said, the first 5 minutes, if you're not in on what happens, yeah, don't fucking continue to watch it because you ain't gonna fucking like what happens after. But I loved every part of it. I agree with everything Paul said about this movie. It is so fucking crazy. If you have not heard of this movie, go and fucking watch it immediately.
Wow. Cool. Last movie, Mike.
Okay, so I'm gonna end it off with one of the funny, like, the entire movie is fucking hilarious, but it's just the combination of Sam Neill and I can never think of his name, but it's a little kid from Deadpool 2, Hunt for the Boulder People. Waititi. This movie, I had no idea was a Taika Waititi movie until later on. Fuck, man. That little kid and Sam Neill together are fucking hilarious.
Julian Dennison, is that his name, right?
Yeah, Julian. Yeah, that's it. His the way he calls him uncle throughout this entire movie when he's not his fucking uncle is hilarious. And Sam Neill continuously tells him, he goes, "I'm not your uncle. Stop calling me your uncle." And they have a part where Sam Neill gets hurt on his ankle and he has to try to help him. So he's like grabbing his foot, trying to rub his foot, trying to help him. And then they go to this kind of like this cabin area because they're on this trail and they're being followed by the New Zealand police because they think that he was kidnapped by Sam Neill, even though the kid is the reason Sam Neill's in this mess. And they go to the cabin, and these group of hunters show up, and they see the kid, and they kind of figure out who the fuck the kid is, and they're kind of wanting to take down Sam Neill, but then the kid out of nowhere just goes, yeah, he wanted me to touch him. I didn't want to touch him. And Sam Neill looks at the kid, and the hunters look at the kid, and then they look at Sam Neill, and he goes, yeah, he wanted me to rub him, and I didn't want to do it, but then he wanted to rub me, and again, Sam Neill's like, look at him going, what the fuck is happening here? And the hunters start looking at him going, you fucking pedo. And the kid finally, like halfway through this, the kid finally figures out what he's saying. And he goes, no, he's not a pedo. And they start beating the shit out of Sam Neill while he's trying to fight. And the kid grabs a shotgun and he just shoots him and goes, shit just got real. Get off my uncle. He never touched me. It's like, if you do not like that type of humor, you will not like this movie, because it's filled with that type of shit throughout this entire movie of this kid basically torturing Sam Neill. The entire movie, Sam Neill doesn't want anything to do with this kid, but this kid is everywhere, and they get in a car chase at the end, which is so fucking incredible with the little kid driving. I love this movie to death. If you have not seen it, fucking find out, go watch it.
Like I said, I have not seen Taika, so definitely not seen this one. Paul, have you seen it?
No, this is one of the probably more popular movies, especially like in our community, that I haven't seen. I actually own it, I think, on VOD, but it's just one of those things where it's like, there's always another movie that is catching my eye more than this one. It's like, and I think that this seems like the one that I might like the most of it out of all his movies, because it's like kind of the dramedy mix, but like, yeah, I just haven't gotten around to watching this one yet. I do know that he named his what he names the dog, so that's that's good.
Well, for my last pick, I want to go with also kind of a recent movie. What's Riley's Sorry to Bother You. This movie is incredibly funny.
Yeah.
And it's actually talking kind of to a thing that we all know happens, that nobody really wants to accept until this year, apparently, where it blew up, which is the relationship between different races. It is very interesting, the fact that when he was trying to sell things over the phone with his own speaking voice, people weren't really wanting to pay attention. But as soon as he started faking an accent and faking a voice to
his
sound
his white voice, yeah,
more of a white guy, then apparently he became the top seller. And Danny Glover has a small part when he actually explains this to him, like, you have to use your white voice so like people can identify more with it. I think David Cross is hilarious in this movie as the white version of like Kid Stanfield. Armie Hammer is as the boss is pretty underrated, because he's just in a couple of scenes and he actually is like really, really good on it. I really like Tessa Thompson as his girlfriend, and dude, I don't know, she's doing something completely different than everybody else in that movie, especially when the art shows. But that scene is rough. That scene is pretty rough, but pretty raw, and I really liked it. The one thing that I don't really connect to is the big twist in the end.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I get it. It's kind of like, I understand how it was an extension of what the idea they were going for. I just didn't love it. I think if they had gone with something a little different, maybe I would have found this movie to be perfect. But as it is, I think it's worth it. I think it's very relevant today, and I think the performances are really, really fun.
Yeah, I think this movie is really funny. Actually, the Tessa Thompson character is my biggest problem with the movie. I really don't like the way that she's written. I think that the movie doesn't know what to do with her character and sort of paints her in a million different directions, and her character's kind of all over the place. But I think Stephen Yeun is really, really funny in this movie. I think that he's sort of an underappreciated presence in kind of side roles like this. But yeah, I mean, the humor is really good. With Terry Crews's relationship with Lakeith Stanfield, I love the exchanges between the two of them. Yeah, the twist, I think I'm a bit mixed on, but I kind of like the boldness of the commitment to that kind of crazy twist.
It is bold.
And the movie itself is just really entertaining. So yeah, it's definitely a movie that's worth watching. I think, and it's definitely like a different type of perspective than you would normally see in a movie with this kind of budget.
I think it's a good fucking movie. Like the performances are great. David Cross is fucking hilarious as a white voice, and yeah, the twist. If you aren't into that twist, it kind of hurts the movie in a way because of how far they take it. But if you're in on it, it goes there, and I'm all for the fucking twist. It's a fucking crazy idea, and I think they pulled it off. But yeah, I enjoyed the hell out of this movie.
So, I was planning on ending it there, but I just realized we did 24 movies, and I don't like the number. So let's round it up to 25 and give it to Paul, since he's our guest. Yeah. Give us one last one.
Oh, okay. I'm going to say for my last one, I'm going to go with a movie that's sort of in a similar vein and is not necessarily a comedy first, but I think has a lot of really funny and entertaining moments. And I think is fair to count on this, and that's Blind Spotting, which is also a 2018 movie written and co-starring by David Diggs and Rafael Casal. Incredible movie. One of my favorite movies of the last decade. I know Matt Queller is a big advocate of this movie, but it's a terrific takedown on sort of gentrification in Oakland. And I think the way that they interact with each other, I think one of the funniest scenes is definitely there's the scene where he's selling the boat that they get for free, and this guy pulls up in a car and he's like talking in this language, like what he's saying makes almost no sense, but then he just inherently understands sort of how to be a salesman. And when he's selling the hair products to the salon that they go to, it's a movie that, it has some serious moments, but then there are these really funny moments. The one guy who's telling the story about the incident that got David Diggs' character arrested in the first place, like when he stops this, like in the middle of the story to make these side comments, those are absolutely hilarious. And it's a movie that it's really funny. It's a lot of different things, but I think the humor is one of the most important parts to make the movie feel balanced. So yeah,
I actually love the part where he gets all the iron straight that they're used. Like, how do we even know if this worked? Like, well, he does the perm to the guy. I mean, I recently saw this movie too, like literally like a month ago, and I was surprised by how funny it was, because honestly, this movie, I think it was sold more like a race thing, like more of a confrontation. The thing about how he witnesses the murder of the person by the guy you mentioned before, Mike,
Ethan Embry.
Ethan Embry, yeah. That is just straight up like crazy. I thought the movie was gonna be like all about that, and it's also about that, but it's also pretty funny, which is I found very surprising. Mike, why do you hate this movie?
I do not hate this movie, and I agree with Nazario that the way I thought of it before I saw the movie was that it was going to be more a race-related movie, which I was fine with, and I was ready to go in for that. And then knowing the little comedic beats throughout it made it fucking great. These two guys are fucking amazing. And Ethan Embry, that ending with Ethan Embry and him is fucking incredible. Like, this is such a great movie. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out.
So, now that's it. 25 movies. You can add them to your list. If you already saw 25 of the movies we listed, then you just wasted an hour of your life. Good for you. If not, then you have some. Yeah. So, that's all for Rank this week, guys. You know the drill. We need the music to get copyright claimed. Thanks, Paul, for joining us today. Thanks, Mike, for having such a weird, fantastic take. That's it from me. We'll see you next time on Rank, the most original show on the internet. Recommendation!